I'm CK. We haven't done a kit from Befaco in a while, and I always like Befaco's stuff. So I bought their FX Boy kit. Now what the FX Boy is it's a eurorack module which acts as a host for plug-in effects cards, which is a really neat idea. So they've worked on the master module, the master one that'll go in your panel, and they've worked with some other folks in the effects world to create plugins. So that's why they're calling it FX Boy, because it's like a Game Boy. You want to change your sound, you swap your cart, just like you would do on your Nintendo Game Boy way back when. So knowing Befaco, it'll probably be very good quality. So we'll take it out, put it together, and see how much fun it is to swap effects boards as we need them. Also be interesting to see if we can hot swap them without anything blowing up. But I'm going to try hot swapping anyway, even if it does blow up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Picked this up from thonk.co.uk, as I do many of my kits, and as you can probably tell, this is a bigger box than normal. This is 11 inches across by 4.5, so I assume that's because they've got a bunch of carts. I'm going to call them carts to stick with the FX Boy conceit. So let's open it up and see what's in this box. Thanks for choosing one of our kits from Befaco, as always. Okay, here we go. Here we've got, oh gosh, he says in great enthusiasm. Forget the box, forget the module for a bit. There's a there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 effects cards or carts that come with this. That's really awesome. We've got FX Girl. I don't know what that is. This is a flanger, this is a microphaser, this is trash, probably grunge or noise, and this is some symbols, who knows what that is, analog wave folder, and a Escara, which I don't know what that is either. And it looks like they actually sourced some old Game Boy cart boxes. I'm going to open one of these up, if I can figure out how you have to read it. It says push. So yeah, they are fully cartridgeified. You're not touching a bare board. They're fully in carts. That's pretty neat. And again, and it says game on it, because I think they're using old Game Boy parts, even though I think this is bigger than a Game Boy, as I recall, but that's been 20 years or whatever. So no matter what, you get a lot of value simply from having 7 effects units coming in one box. I mean, obviously you can't use them all at once, but if you want to swap effects without having to swap stuff in your rack, that's very handy. So let's see what else we got in here. We've got a whole bunch of sockets. That's a lot of sockets. Got a whole bunch of capacitors, decoupling capacitors, to go with all these sockets. Got some knobs. They're not great. Hey guys, there's no metal inserts, and there's no locking screws. They're just pressed to fit. You can do better than that, Befaco. I know you can, because you have. Here's some random capacitors of various types, and is that a power supply or voltage regulator or a transistor? Let me take it out. There's an LED in there too. This is a .750L 10C. I would assume the 750L means voltage regulator, but I don't know if that means it's a 10-volt voltage regulator or not. That's kind of an odd voltage. Then we've got, okay, here's a part that has to be really good quality, and we'll take a look at it as we go along. Here is the cart slot, and it looks like that's almost surface mounting. We're going to be soldering all those pins down, I believe, unless there's a thing to slide that into also. And then some switches and some jacks. I know I'm going backwards. I usually show the front panel first, but I got so excited by all those carts, I lost my head. Bunch of potentiometers, and resistor time is going to go on for a while. It looks like we've got about 50 quarter-watt resistors in there, and then I can see some ferrite cores for some induction, and there's a couple of 4148 diodes in there. So that resistor time will go on for a long time. There's a Befaco sticker and a Nerley's sticker, and here we have FX, making sound machines. I don't know what that is. Befaco X-Boy system. So I think if we all build one of these, more people will buy FX units, or more people will build these. Because if this were to catch on, which it certainly could, that would be really neat. Again, the only real issue is that you can only use one effect at a time, but that's okay. So what do we have on the front? We've got the slot where the effect card will go in, XCV, YCV, X and Y. Of course, because different effects units do different things, each effects unit is going to take the X and Y input and use them as they feel. In other words, if you plugged a delay in, they might have the X be the delay time and the Y be feedback. And if you're, plugging in a wave folder or wave shaper, this may be shape and this may be compression or something like that. So all of these are just generically going to be X and Y, because the person who makes the effects cart will determine what they want that to be, and Befaco can't put all the names on it, of course. And then there's an A and B switch. Again, I spent 40 some odd years in software, so I know what they were thinking as they did this. So they're just giving you the option as a cart designer to say, okay, we're giving you two knobs, CV for both of those knobs, a dry-wet knob, EQ, or FX, as you can see, that goes back and forth, and a switch that you can use to switch whatever you're doing. So that's pretty neat. I think they've probably thought out the design of the electrical interface to this product pretty well. Oh, let me get the box ready for recycling. Another Befaco Befaco panel nut wrench, which I've now got like 20 of. I need to be able to tell them, don't send me more. And here we go. We saw all those electronic components because we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, I see what that is. 4 boards. So this is, let me get this plastic out of the way. This is the pots and knobs board with a bunch of componentry on the back, capacitors, resistors, and so on. And as is typical, and again, I'm gonna zoom in now because we don't have that big box in the way right anymore. As is typical on Befaco circuit boards, nary a straight trace on the board. They're all curvy and meandery. That always amuses me. That's why I mention it every single time. So there's the pots and knobs board. Here is more componentry with a bunch of ICs. Here is the back plane of it where this edge connector, which I put back in its bag, I'm not going to drag it out again, which the edge connector where you shove in the carts goes, and a couple of caps and some more chips. And this is a effects board prototyping board. So if you want to build your own effects board to plug into this, you could use this to prototype it and give it a try, or do it for permanently this way. I don't know. I'm going to assume, sorry for moving the camera, I'm going to assume that Befaco will be happy to sell these. I didn't look at their website to see that or not, but I'm sure they will. So you could build your own effects unit. I may want to take that Princeton Tech reverb chip that I like so much, and I may build a reverb that goes in this. So we'll see. So this board you're not going to be doing anything with if you're not building a effects board yourself. But these three you are going to be adding all the componentry to. So this is not a one-night job. This will take a couple of nights. But it looks really good and looks really interesting. I don't know where a build guide is. Here it is, assembly guide, and the bill of materials is here. If this is your first DIY project, you can find articles and videos about soldering. If this is your first DIY project, it's going to take you a couple of weeks. Just go slow. Be patient. Again, Befaco loads lots of components. This many resistors takes a while to put on, and you got to be careful and you got to take your time. So don't rush this if it is your first kit. I mean, even if it's not your first kit, you shouldn't rush it. But I think you know what point I'm trying to make there. So I'll get the soldering iron heated up, bring the build guide up, because there are no values listed on any components on the board. So we either have to get the assembly guide or the bill of materials, which will tell us position points. But it looks like it's going to be fun, and the concept is really nice. And Befaco has, as usual, a very nice build guide. And I'll point out on the circuit boards, this one goes from 1 to 54. This one goes from 55 to, I don't know, 96. And this board all has 100 and up. Actually, it doesn't. It has 99 here. Huh, that's interesting. Actually, 97 even, and 98. Huh, okay. So we know roughly where they're going to go as we put it together. And we've got 108 resistors to put on, which means you're not going to hear a lot from me this evening. I do have to remember to save 2 resistor leads for the ferrite beads, because 108, we start out with, let me unfurl this, we start out with 66 100K resistors. So that's going to take most of the evening. A 100 and some odd resistors later, resistor time is over. So that was exciting. Now we'll go ahead and put the 4148 diodes on. Some of the printing is a little off. On this board, for example, this is R8 and C5, and the printing's right on top of each other. So if you're looking, you can look in the build guide. I have to actually see. The build guide's got placement diagrams in it. Oh, one other thing is some of the resistors are in series. like R1 and R7 here, and they share a, basically share a solder pad, and you will want to make sure you don't close up. Either put both resistors in at the same time, or make sure you don't close up the other hole when you're soldering the first resistor you put in. Now the next big process is putting all the sockets on. And all 21 sockets are on the board now, or boards. Only problem is I had another mispack. This is like 3 kits in a row. I got an extra 14 pin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 pin, and I was missing the 16 pin. So, I don't know, this was packed by Befaco, so I'll send them a little note and remind them, double check your counts. And now we have the next mass production exercise. All the capacitors. We're going to start with, how many is it? 48 104s, 100 nanofarad caps. All the passive capacitors are on, scattered all around the board. One thing, geez, if you're relatively new to building, this is great. This board is great solder practice. There's so many components. Now we'll do all the electrolytics. Not going to solder those yet. Now we'll put the voltage regulators on. There's a 5-volt one and a 10-volt one. And that, I assume, I mean I can tell, is feeding the daughter board, the plug-in board. Okay, now we've got 2x5. I mean 2x7. Geez, I'm such a goofball. So that would be 5, and that's going to face this way, because it's the back facing forward. So I'm stacking this in my head is what I'm doing. So, is this going to go this way? I think this may go this way. Yeah, this is going to go this way. It's going to go sandwich that way and sandwich that way, because this will be the pots and so on. I'm going to scooch ahead and see if they've got a picture of that, just so I can verify it one way or the other. They often don't have pictures. No, they don't have pictures. Huh. Okay, that's not great. If you look in here, this voltage regulator, the 5-volt one, is actually going to hit against the socket, so I got to bend it in a little bit. There we go. So that is all the pin headers. Now let me check this one to make sure nothing's interfering on this one. Make sure the pins are all going to line up. And they will, and everything's good on that one. Let me trim that capacitor lead while I'm looking at it. Now we'll do the power connector, which is somewhere. It's not there, is it? There it is. And it's going to go, as you can see, it mounts on, oh, okay, it mounts this way, I think, because it's got the red stripe indication on that side. It doesn't, let me double check this. Make sure that the keying is right if we're on the back side. And it is not right if we're on the back side, so it's got to be on the other side. And I just realized as I went through all this, there's no step to actually install this guy. But, it's one way it can go. Let me get the pins all lined up. I did this a minute ago. There we go. It's going to go in like that, and we'll just verify that by making sure the next level up connectors line up correctly. Yep, that's the only way it can go. So I'll go ahead and solder that down now. Welcome back, even though for you it's not much of a welcome back because it'd just be a flicker, but for me it's been a couple of months because this connector was such a pain in the patoot. I set this aside for a while because I have a production schedule I got to meet, so let it sit. It ended up being a couple of months, but then I went through and reworked it, and I think I've got all the pins on with no bridging. So the next thing in the book is, or in the thing, is to check our voltages. I'm going to take my little benchtop power supply and we're going to plug in the unpopulated board. It's got one chip in it. I think I'm going to take that out while I do this, just in case. Where is my yellow-handled screwdriver? For crying out loud. Well, I'll use my... Oh, I'm sorry. You have to put the 532 in. I think I knew that, and I had done it before I had my little hiatus. That's negative. Good. Okay, and up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Okay, now we got all our voltages correct. Good. So we can move on. And what do we want to do next? Oh, now we do want to put all the ICs in. I see. Well, up there goes my water heater, so I will mute the sound and put all these chips in, but I'll turn the cameras off too because you don't need to see me stuffing chips in. Okay, the water heater's back off, and now we're putting the spacers on. So there are 3 spots for spacers. You can see where the big circles are that I also, as you noticed when I was taking my voltage measurements, are also grounds. I'm not worried about tightening those too tightly since it's only going to be in my studio. It's not going to be subjected to many shocks or anything like that. Now they're telling us to be careful because they're putting all the controls on the front. And be careful to not solder them until we're ready. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these, are there, how many of these? There are 9 B-taper 10K pots. Yep, 3s. So that's all those little fellas. Now we're going to do 2 switches. Okay, now we'll put the front panel on. Okay. I'm not putting the LED in yet. And then I'm going to get my little clamp. Clamp this together while we do the next step. And what he would like to do is, because they're slightly different heights, they would like us to do the jacks first. Actually, I'm going to take this clamp away because it's putting too much tension on the board. But I will put all the panel nuts on the, actually that's wrong because that's the out and we want that to be red. And by screwing the pot knobs down, it pulled the bases away from the circuit board, so I'm not worried about any shorting. So that is all that. Now making sure this is parallel, always an important thing. This is, hold still, 5 millimeters. That's a little less than 5 millimeters. But the middle is 5 millimeters. This is down a little bit more than I would like, but only by, geez, 1/10 of a millimeter, so I'm actually not going to mess with it because I'll just get into a back and forth that I don't want to get into. So now we're going to solder all of these connections again. We're not doing the LED yet, but we'll do all the rest of these. First, to get this cable out of my way. Now, some of these spots are very close to other components, so you're going to want to be very careful as you do this. Now I'm just going to go from one end to the other, and again I'll probably cut a bunch of this out because it's just soldering a whole bunch of connections. So that's all connected. Let me zoom in a little bit. I didn't see how far out I was. And because there's so many connections here, I'm going to go through and make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I didn't do the LED yet. And I didn't do these 2 ground pins. Let me do those. First I'll do the LED. It pushes through the board like so. Let me grab another piece of solder. Everything appears to be soldered. Now we're going to stack everything up. Now part of the reason why I thought it was missing, this is supposed to be assembled once the whole stack is put together. Now I chose not to do that, and I'm comfortable with that because I think it would have entailed a lot more, would have been more of a pain to rework that, and I did, as I said, I did have to do a good bit of rework on that. So now we'll get these boards together. That's those 2, and we want to make sure they're parallel and fully squeezed down, or as much as we can. The spacers, do we have 2 different heights? No, they're the same height, but it doesn't allow this spacer, doesn't allow either spacer to fully mate. There's about a 2 millimeter gap, and I don't think it'll be a problem, but it would have been nicer to have some spacers that were about 2 millimeters smaller. Now we're going to put the next spacer on, set on. It's quite a contraption, isn't it? Now we will put this one, and since I've already got the connector on, I'm not going to be putting the connector on at another time. Or this time, but I don't think it really matters. Okay, and that again, there's a 2mm gap on that connector. Now we've got some screws to finish this stack off. Oops, the screw's getting away from me. I need my screwdriver also. Okay, I'm going to check the cart clearance. So now we've got a little triangle there and a triangle on the board, and does it go in? It goes in just fine. So we're good there. I don't know if it'll work right now, but it goes together fine. Now we've got some knobs to put on, and they're all, like I said, they're kind of junky. Just press-on knobs, no set screws, no metal inserts, just random junk knobs. Okay, and with the power cord in, that's what she will look like. There's the front, there's the side, there's the back with that connector that you got to be really careful putting together. The other side, top, and the bottom. And I don't believe there's any calibration to do. Nope, there's no calibration to do, but I am going to plug it in on the bench top here just to do a smoke check, so I can do a smoke check here instead of in the rack. Yep, that's 5. This should be a 12. Yep. I'm getting the voltages. So we'll put it in the rack and hear it sounds with various of these things in here. And again, I'm going to try hot swapping them because that's the kind of guy I am, and in use I'm sure I would hot swap them. Alright, we're in the rack, and as you can see, there's no output right now. I've got a sequencer sequence going into it, but I'm fully on wet right now. There's no cartridge installed. Let me go back to fully dry, and it just passes right through and the LED blinks. Now there are two things we're looking at here. First, we're looking at the actual unit to see how easy it is to work with, and it seems to be very easy. As you can see, there's not much to it. And then the other thing is to look at the actual carts that have been included with it. And we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. You can see I'm just holding them loose in my hand because these little carrying cases, nobody's going to use these. They shouldn't even waste the plastic. We're all going to throw those away as soon as we get started. I know. So let's see what we'll start with. We'll take this flanger. This is by Feedback Modules, which I like. I've done a couple of them. And it tells you in the user guide, in the A position here, it's a comb filter with delay, and X is delay time, Y is feedback. In the B position, it's an LFO, and X is LFO speed, and Y is feedback. So you'll see that with all of them. That's what they have to tell you. First off, what it does, and then what the parameter settings are. And then this switch down here is for the equalizer, and it allows you to go from post EQ to FX or from FX to EQ, which is a good way to do things. So you can hot plug these, even though Befaco mentions that it might cause a little click or pop or whatever in your sound. So turn the rig down when you're swapping modules. We'll put this flanger in. I don't know why it took that long to get there, but now you can hear it. This is an LFO. Turn up the feedback. Let's go back to A. And that's just a comb filter. But if I change the EQ, and we're in EQ prior to FX right now, let's switch it around. Mix a little of the initial signal in. That sounds good. Let's swap out, because we've got a few of them to try out here. Now this is from Tesseract Modular, and it is a ring modulator and downsampler. So we'll slam that in there. I can hear it. X isn't giving me anything, but Y is. And I just switched to EQ, then FX. So that's interesting if you want a little noisiness. See what the next one is. This is from Making Sound Machines, and it's their analog wave folder. Switch to B. I'm going to turn the sequencer up just a hair. Okay, so that's FX before EQ, and that's not giving me anything. I'm going to extend the so that's what that one's doing. Now let's grab microphaser from, who's this from? Instro. I don't know them. It's an all-pass filter or a phaser. And we'll start with the all-pass filter. sequencer down a little bit. Red LED means I'm overdriving it. This is a fuzz module. Okay, now we'll try from FX Girl. We've got a delay. And this is in granular and size for grains. Now we go straight to delay. I'm going to put some XCV in here from an LFO. Some YCV. Okay, one more. This will be the Befaco one, which is distortion. Now I'm changing EQ with CV. Try dry wet. So you get the feel for it. Obviously there's a lot to tweak here and play around with it. Clearly having one unit doing a whole bunch of different effects is very good. The only problem is you only have one at a time, so if you want to do a delay and a distortion, you have to have two modules anyway, but still good. One thing I would like to look at here, the only challenge is the peak that we've been getting here on the plus 12 volts is 220 milliamps. And 160 on the minus. That's not bad, just be aware, and it varies by module. So that's what it does. Again, it was a rather complicated build, and that one connector is a real challenge to put together, so take your time with it. Be prepared to rework it if you have to. But another good unit from Befaco and all their friends. I have not looked to see if other people have come out with modules yet. I'll take a look at that, or actually you should probably go to Befaco's page to find that out. So that is the Befaco FX Boy, and I hope you enjoyed the video.